I'm just checking because there appears to be a little bit of fuzziness on my recording. But I think it's just going to have to be fine. And now I'm going to stop. No, I can't because we've just done the clap. Okay, I'm just going to take it as it's fine, and I can probably cancel it out. And
okay,
it'll probably be fine. It'll be fine. It's only our 5th episode.
Hi, and welcome to Nostalgia's Perspective, a podcast where two friends look back on the media which has influenced us. I'm Georgia.
I'm Jay, and this week we're going to be talking about Taylor Swift's second album?
No.
Damn it. Taylor Swift's third album?
No.
Really?
Yeah.
Anyway, we're going to be talking about 1989 by Taylor Swift, which was her...
It was her... it was her 5th album.
Her 5th album, apparently. I was very wrong. Which, in case you hadn't guessed, was Georgia's one for this week.
I'm pretty sure it was her 5th album. She did the Taylor Swift, then there's Fearless, then there's Speak Now, then there's Red, then 1989.
Yeah, see, now I was going Red 1989. I couldn't have told you about any of the others.
That's where the ones before, their hits were things like Love Story,
yeah.
You Belong With Me, all of those, the old country ones.
Yeah. See, now in my head, it was Love Story is on Red, and then it's 1989. I know my Taylor Swift history. But yeah, anyway, do you want to give kind of a brief explanation as to why you picked this one?
Sure. So I don't know if we've brought it up on previous episodes, but we met at uni.
Yeah,
during
we must
first year
have
of
mentioned
uni.
that, haven't we?
I don't know.
Ah.
But if we haven't, we did. But we didn't really become friends, I'd say, until we entered university in September, and we didn't really meet each other / become friends until maybe the January, I would say.
Yeah.
Or at least the December.
Well, yeah, no, I would argue that we met kind of in that winter, but that we became friends in second year.
Yeah. Anyway, so when I entered university, as you'll know, I had a really difficult time with I had a bit of a I'd say a depressive episode in which I really struggled to with the structure of university.
Right.
I'd gone from a system in which I was one of those students where it was never a question when I was at home, regardless of what was going on, that I was going to wake up at 7, I was going to go to school at 8:30, and I was going to be there, and I was going to eat my meals at specific times and all of that.
Yeah.
And then I suddenly got to university, and there was nobody telling me that I had to do anything.
Yeah.
So it just meant that I suddenly found myself in this spiral of I wasn't a partier or anything, but I was definitely a just stay in my room and just slog about for weeks at a time.
Right. Difficult to motivate.
Yeah, exactly. So I came back from the Christmas period, and I was still in this kind of state in January. And I don't really know how I kind of came across Shake It Off or Blank Space, but it must have just been while kind of going through YouTube. And
Sure.
I hadn't been a huge Taylor Swift fan before. I'd known her singles, but I liked her enough, but I wasn't, a Taylor Swift fan or anything like that.
Yeah.
But there was something about those two songs that really I don't know, I just really loved. And I want to highlight here that I'm not a music fan. Majority of the things that I listened to, or at least until that point, had been things that other people in my life were fans of.
Yeah.
And I just happened to listen to.
Yeah.
Like, I had no albums or artists that I liked on my own accord.
Yeah.
And so I really enjoyed those 2 songs, and I downloaded the album and I bought the CD, and I listened to the full album, and it felt like my album that I had chosen.
Yeah.
And there was just something about the music, and also Taylor Swift's look at the time. She
right, yeah.
she had eyeliner, she changed her look, she wore eyeliner, and she wore that like bright red lipstick.
Yeah.
And I went out and I bought the same thing, and I started getting up in the morning and I would listen to that album, and I'd put on the eyeliner for and I never wore eyeliner, but I put on the eyeliner and I'd put on the lipstick, and like it was my motivation to like get up in the morning.
Right.
And also during that time, like during that winter, I'd been in a kind of like on again, off again kind of relationship that kind of had turned sour on New Year's Eve. And I was determined that I was going to, like, with that album, I was determined I was going to put that kind of relationship behind me, and I was just going to kind of go. And I'd made a decision that I was going to date, and I was going to have fun, and I didn't really care about, like, whether it was going to be long term or not, but I was just determined to just be a bit happier and to just have more fun. And then my first pick was a guy sat opposite me on a class on a Thursday, and I listened to that album in order to prepare for that date.
Oh.
And I went out and I thought, I don't care, like, how this is going to be.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't, and 6 years later, and I'm still in that relationship, like, so I do, and actually we, about a couple of months maybe a month into going out, he came down to Cardiff with me, and I hadn't taken my car, the first year of university, so it was at my parents' house, and I offered to take him for a drive around Cardiff because I don't think he'd been to Cardiff before. Right. Or he'd only been like once. And so we drove, and that was the CD that was in the car. and Tate is like far from anybody who would like Taylor Swift. But Welcome to New York played, and he was like, who's this? This is really good. I really like this song. And from like that point on, like that was the CD that was like playing in the car. And it takes me back to that point, because like that, it wasn't as though nothing difficult ever happened in my life or in my relationship.
Sure.
But that CD takes me back to that leap of faith I almost took.
Yeah.
And the very early days of my relationship. So yeah, so that's why I've chosen it, because although apart from having to, because like once then, other Taylor Swift albums came out. Since then, Reputation, Lover, Folklore have all come out, and so I've been listening to them more. So it was nice to re-listen to 1989 and remember like how much I loved that album.
Yeah. That's a lovely story.
Thanks.
Yeah, see, now it's funny because 1989 to me, I mean, I would have heard the hits before, but 1989 to me is that second year of uni in the car with you.
Yeah.
And then I think I borrowed the album and downloaded it. Because obviously the album doesn't have nearly as much meaning for me as it does for you, but I had a similar thing first listening to it, in that like I'd heard Taylor Swift songs before, I'd liked them well enough, but I'd never actually listened to an album or anything.
Yeah.
Because I find a lot of the time with albums, especially pop albums, but like a lot of artists' albums, I'll like a song, and I'll be like, oh, I really like this song. I'll go listen to the album, see what the album's like, see what their other stuff's like. And then you'll get 10 to 12 songs that are very similar. And it's just like, this isn't an album. I have no interest in that.
Yeah.
Whereas this, I think one of the strengths of the album for me is that, and I mean, it must be said that I haven't listened to any of Taylor Swift's other albums, really. I might have listened to Red all the way through, but I haven't gone out to listen to any of the others. But this album, for me, has a lot of variety, and it has a lot of songs which are similar, but different enough that it's still interesting.
They feel distinctive.
Yeah, definitely. Like, looking at the list of songs, I could, like, sing along to any of them other than Clean. Because they... I mean, it's a thing of her songs, I think, that she's very catchy. But they're all distinctly catchy.
Yeah. It's definitely, like, I now consider myself a Taylor Swift fan, and I do love her other albums. And I think that I'll probably get you to listen to Folklore at some point, because it's the most recent album that's come out, and I really love it. But I've got a playlist of, like, all of her songs, and 1989 is the only one that has all of the songs from the album on it and doesn't skip any.
Right.
Like, I do like the other albums, but I'll have, like, a couple of songs where I'm like, meh.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not a fan of that.
Yeah.
But it's such a good, like, complete album.
Yes. Yeah.
Honestly, I would argue.
Yes, I think I would mostly agree. I think there is a section, which I'm just trying to bring up the song list now. I don't know, actually. Because I was going to say there's a section about 3/4 of the way through, around about where Clean is, but when I look at it, what I would say the section is How You Get the Girl, followed by This Love, followed by I Know Places, followed by Clean. I think is the weakest section of the album, the weakest part of the album. But then I do like I Know Places.
See, I like This Love, and I do like Clean.
Yeah?
Yeah, I know you're not a fan of Clean.
I'm not a massive fan of This Love either.
What's your favourite song in the album and then least favourite song?
So least favourite Clean. Because it's the one I don't remember. Like, I'm not a massive fan of You Are in Love either. Actually, no, I've just realised I was confusing This Love and You Are in Love. I prefer This Love to You Are in Love.
Yeah.
But I think I remember that at least. I don't remember Clean. And then favourite, going into re-listening to this album, because I hadn't listened to it in a good, I don't know, maybe a year?
Yeah.
And going into it, I had that Wonderland was my favourite. Wonderland always used to be my favourite song.
I would not have expected that.
No? I was partial to New Romantics as well. But, I love Wonderland. But then the song that got stuck in my head most was Out of the Woods.
Yeah.
But no, I'd still probably say Wonderland is my favourite. There's just something very different about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fun to sing as well.
Yeah. I think my least favourite is maybe How You Get the Girl.
Yeah.
Or, I don't know, I like How You Get the Girl, but if you listen to Red, so if you listen to Red, I think How You Get the Girl is very much like older Taylor Swift.
Sure.
Like, it feels like it could belong on that album rather than 1989.
I think with How You Get the Girl, it's also one which feels more generic.
Yeah, exactly. And similarly, I think it'd be a toss between How You Get the Girl and Bad Blood. And I want to highlight that I do like these two songs, but like in terms of least favourite, just because again, Bad Blood I think could easily belong on Reputation.
Right.
Which is her next album, which is her angry album. And yeah, I don't know. And there's something about I have a thing against songs that like stretch the rhyme in a bit. Like, where you're like, does that rhyme? Like, the whole, like, blood, love, done, blood. I'm like, that's a stretch.
You don't like problems and solve them? I like that. I don't like cart, but
yeah. That's the one that always gets me, where I'm just like,
Yeah, but I think that's very in keeping with the tone of the song.
Yeah.
But no, I think there are a few songs that I have that problem with more. But, you know, we'll get into that, maybe.
And then I think my favourite is... I think when I originally listened to it, my favourite would have been Style or Wildest Dreams.
Yeah.
But the one I listen to the most is New Romantics at the moment.
Yeah, New Romantics is a very good last song.
Yeah.
On an album.
I think that... I'm sure we'll discuss this, but I think that New Romantics encapsulates what the entire theme of the album, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've given me a kind of outline. You split songs into 3 categories. So did we want to start by talking through that and go like category by category then, to give us some kind of structure?
I'm actually going to split it into 4 categories.
Oh, okay.
So I think that my personal theory of this album is that although some of the songs can enter 2 categories, that the songs can be divided into like 4 stages of a relationship.
Right.
There's the falling in love and loving as fearlessly as you can. There's the we're in love but it won't last. There's the breakup, and then there's the we fall back together, we reunite.
Yep.
Despite the odds. Yeah, what do you think about that theory of it, like, first hearing it?
I think it makes sense. I think it feels like an album about the chaoticness of relationships.
Yeah. I said that I think that New Romantics kind of explores the theme of the album. And I think that what New Romantics kind of puts forward is this idea that our generation is less about finding the one and then just automatically running with that.
Yeah.
But it's about, like you say, the more chaotic relationship, about the getting together, getting like falling apart again, getting back together. And also, but like that side of it, which I think that, some people would see as very cynical, but I think that we also have a side of us that loves love, that gets that feels all of these emotions and gets excited about different relationships and different types of relationships in a way that I don't think other generations have been allowed to feel.
Yeah, I think you can definitely make that argument that in the past, people either would have been set up together from a very young age, or once they were married, that is it, and you make it work, and no matter what, that is what you have now.
Yeah.
Whereas nowadays it is a lot more, we'll get together and maybe it won't last so long, but we'll see how it goes. And we'll just enjoy it while we're together. And we can fight very hard for it to stay together, but if we're going to have to break up, then we break up, and there may be someone else. Yeah.
So that kind of so my first category, which I'd argue includes the songs Blank Space, maybe Welcome to New York, Wonderland, Wildest Dreams, You Are in Love, and New Romantics, kind of puts forth this this idea. I'm trying to think of a way to describe it. okay, like, I don't know how much, like, you experience this as a guy,
Right.
but I can say from my own experience, especially as a girl growing up, is that you were encouraged a lot to keep your cards very close to your chest in terms of relationships. That you're
Right.
supposed to kind of be, you're like, oh, you can't show him that you like him that much because he'll see you as needy. You can't be the first one to say that I love you because he'll see you as pathetic. You can't show as much of your emotions because men will take it the wrong way, and nobody likes a pathetic, needy girl, essentially.
Right.
I don't know, were you ever given that advice?
I mean, that is definitely something that I was aware of from that is how girls were told to be.
Yeah.
I think for guys, the problem is that they're encouraged to be very forward and very, possessive's the wrong word. Not taking no for an answer, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is more the guy version of that, I think.
Yeah.
Is that, like, if you like someone, go for it, and just keep going for it.
Yeah. And I think that what I really admire about Taylor Swift with these songs is at this point in her career, she had been labelled as, oh, that artist who always is singing about her relationships. And yet, she still makes songs in which it's so clear how much she loves love. And I'd say that her encouragement in these songs is to love fiercely and unapologetically. Like, it doesn't really matter what anybody thinks about you, because this relationship might last or it might not. So if you're feeling these emotions of love, then experience them, express them. That's what I take from it anyway.
Yes, so did we want to talk a little bit about those songs?
Yeah.
So you talked a little bit about New Romantics already.
Yeah.
Talked a little bit about Wonderland.
Blank Space was on that list.
It was.
I think Blank Space might have been the biggest single.
I was about to say that, but between it and Shake It Off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Blank Space is just such a good song. Like, I listen to it when it comes on the album. I'm just like, this is just such a well put together song. It's so, like I said, like, Red has a lot of although the singles are very poppy, a lot of the album tracks are more country.
Right.
And then 1989 is supposed to be like full, like her full pop album, like her first like full pop album. But the beginning of Blank Space like has the kind of like, well, the background of it has that guitar, which I think is kind of like reminiscent of her past as a country artist. And it's a great song for the beginning of a relationship.
Yeah. This is the thing. Okay, so I'm finding it hard to articulate thoughts.
Yeah.
When you present something to me, and I'm just like, yeah. And I find it really difficult to talk about music.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, good idea of mine then to talk about albums on the podcast. But
yeah, anybody listening, me and Jay did a creative writing degree, which means that we studied books. We studied script writing. So, like, talking about the writing of books and the writing of movies and TV shows, like, we have a degree in it, but music...
Yeah, that's dangerous to say, though, because that suggests we'll be really great at those, too. But, yeah, I think the thing with music is there is something that's so... It can hit you in a different way. There's something... what's the word I'm looking for? Give me a moment. It's not the word I was looking for, but like ethereal.
Yeah.
where a song can hit you and you can feel something and you have no idea why you're feeling it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think bringing it back to Blank Space specifically, I'm just singing it in my head now to try to get something to come to mind. No, I've got nothing. I can't.
That's okay.
I can't pinpoint what it is.
What do you think about... So although I make the case for Lovin' Fiercely is a good thing...
Yes.
The line, got a long list of ex-lovers who will tell you I'm insane.
Yeah.
And, I don't know if you've ever seen the music video.
No.
But the music video is her with this guy, and then I know at one point in the video she smashes his car. I know she cuts up his t-shirts, like things like that. Like, there is this kind of neurotic side to Lovin' Fiercely.
Yeah.
Like, Lovin' Fiercely can also come with jealousy and, all of those sorts of emotions that, like, can be construed as, like, quite negative. And I don't know whether it's best to just... I don't know. There's good sides to not being passive in a relationship and voicing exactly what it is you're feeling.
Yeah.
But then does that come with the flip side of sometimes you appear like a neurotic woman?
Yeah. I think it's all about balance though, isn't it? Because I don't think Taylor Swift is advocating for doing those things.
No.
when she sings about it and when she has it in her music videos. I think that is a thing about music, and that is what is great about this music, is that it's a safe space to just be like, hey, this is me. And but like, also, this is just the music. Like, I'm gonna be more chill than this, but like, this is me at my most extreme.
Yeah.
And like you said before, kind of, with the album as a whole and with the point that it's kind of putting across that, like, oh, we'll give it a go and it might not work out, but we'll give it our best go. That is something that in these songs, which you've kind of put as like Loving Fiercely, both Blank Space and Wonderland acknowledge that, hey, it may well not work, but I'm going for it anyway. Because Blank Space has obviously, so it's going to be forever or it's going to go down in flames.
Yeah.
And then Wonderland has We Found Wonderland, You and I Got Lost in It, and We Pretended It Would Last Forever. We pretended it would last forever.
Yeah.
Like, and there's an acknowledgement there that, like, it's great. It's not going to be like this forever. It's not going to be perfect. But it's great and we're going to enjoy it. And we just got to go with it. And I think in terms of the highlighting the neuroticism or, like, the worst aspects of a character, that's the thing. When you go for it fully, everything comes out, and then things go where they go, or they don't.
Yeah, but at least you can say that you were authentically you, that you didn't hold anything back.
Yes, and more often than not, the high will be worth the pain.
Or at least one hopes.
Yes.
What's the line in Blank Space? Something about... Oh, when you have to come up with lyrics and then you have to play the song in your head? Oh,
yeah, no, that's what I was doing that whole time when I was failing to say anything about Blank Space. I was just playing the song over in my head. I was just literally singing through it. We should have just put, like, the album on in the background and then talked over it. I don't know that we could have gotten away with that, but it would have been good.
Yeah. That was... It'll leave you breathless or with a nasty scar. Either way, you've made an impact.
Yes. Yeah. For better or worse.
For better or worse, you've left an impact. And I suppose in, like, a relationship, I'd rather leave an impact than not.
Yeah.
Like, I think I'd rather... Worse comes to shove. If I was in a relationship with someone, I'd rather them be like, oh, like... she was difficult, then I would be like, who was that? Oh yeah, I dated her.
Yeah, I think part of that can come down to as well. I think if you are your full self and you are confident in who you are and you put that out there, then the person will remember you. They're gonna not remember the ones who are quiet and boring and don't give all of themselves to the relationship. I think that is what underlies that. Correct me if I'm wrong, obviously, like,
No.
your experience. But, yeah, I think that is, like I kind of said, like, with the, you were saying about, is it like a bad thing that it's putting the neuroticism out there? Well, that's part of you. And so, like, if that's part of you, that's part of you. So, go with it.
Yeah.
And, I mean, work on it, sure. Try to be your best self, but they need to take you as you are before you can work on it. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Before we leave that category, I did just want to bring up You Are in Love.
Yes.
Because that's a very different song. And is one, I'm looking at the other songs on the album. And I think there's a couple, there's This Love and possibly Clean, but I don't really remember Clean, so who knows, where they are much more idealistic.
Now I'd say You're in Love is the only one, because This Love...
This Love is good, This Love is bad, never mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, Clean is about a breakup.
Okay, yeah. Ignore that comment then. So, let's just pull it back to You Are in Love and just talk about that one song. Because it is very idealistic.
Yeah, it's such a lovely song.
It is. It almost to me fits in with more like Love Story.
Yeah.
In that just like rose tinted, like if I don't know, this probably doesn't have a music video because it's not a single. But if it's a music video, it is all shot with like blurred edges and very dreamlike, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you get that a lot in the tone of the song.
I could almost imagine it being a song on the album Lover, which is very much encompasses like very lovey-dovey,
right? Yeah,
ideas. And actually, that song, the song Lover is in a snow globe. So
okay.
the line, you want a snow globe going round and round, like, she clearly liked that idea.
Oh yeah, I really don't like the bridge in You Are in Love. The snow globe round and round.
And then you understand now why they lost their minds and fought the wars.
Yeah, it's like something office downtown in your office downtown, and why I've spent my whole life trying to put this into words.
See, I like that, because to me, that brings us back to the idea of, like, you know, regardless of how people view her, like, regardless of, at the time, if people view her as this, like, this artist who only sings about her relationships and whatever,
yeah,
like, I think that the line, why I spent my whole life trying to put it into words, is this idea of she's kind of exploring that feeling that she feels in You're in Love through all of these different songs. I don't know, I quite like it as the second to last song in the album, as this kind of like idea of like what it is that she's like searching for and what it is that she's hoping for in all of these different relationships.
Yeah, I can agree with it works nicely as the second to last song of the album, to an extent. But I think there's two things in the... Firstly, as the second to last song in the album, it comes between Wonderland and New Romantics, which I really like both of them. And so it's just like, I could, like, yeah, I don't really care about this right now. And also, I think for me, maybe encapsulated in the fact that those are two of the songs I like more.
Yeah.
Tells you why I don't like You Are in Love, I guess. It's just not what I'm there for.
Yeah, I get you.
Yeah.
In the category It Won't Last, I put a lot of songs in this and a lot of songs that kind of, if it was a Venn diagram, there'd be a lot of songs that were both in Love Fiercely and It Won't Last.
Yeah. In that you can argue that Blank Space and Wonderland both go.
Yeah, in that.
Yeah, we kind of touched on that.
But we've touched on those songs. I'd also argue that Style is in there, Wildest Dreams, This Love, and maybe I Know Places as well.
Yeah. When you sent the list to me, you also put Out of the Woods.
Nah, see, Out of the Woods I'm going to put in the next category.
Oh, okay, that you didn't send to me. Okay.
Yeah. So, Style is one of my favourite songs on the album. It's just... I'm going to repeat myself. It's just such a good song. Like, I listen to it and it's just such a banger. Like...
That's a banger.
It is!
Way to make us British.
Well, God help people thought we were American. I mean,
Yes.
You have potentially the most British accent I've ever heard, except for... You have a very Queen's English way of speaking.
Yeah, this is the thing where I used to think that I didn't have an accent. But then when I listen to myself speak, it is like, oh my God, I speak so proper. Like, I don't pronounce, like, yeah. Anyway.
I wonder if my Welsh accent is clear.
I think it is. But then I'm used to it, and I'm used to Welsh.
Yeah. And
So,
people in Wales don't think I have a Welsh accent, but...
That is funny. It's not super strong, but it's clear enough.
It's there. Like, yeah, people in Wales don't think I have an English accent, and people in England think I have a Welsh accent.
You definitely don't... I don't know. Who knows?
Who knows?
Anyway.
Style
Style is a banger.
is a banger.
So we managed to kind of get there in the end with Blank Space. Let's try again with Style. We'll try to do this with each of the main song in the category.
Yeah.
Okay, so Style. I agree that Style is a good song. I don't know I call it a banger, but I don't use the word banger. Style is, however, the song that I forgot. The single that I forgot. So if you have the singles of Blank Space, Shake It Off, Bad Blood, and Style, I think Wildest Dreams was a single as well, yeah, but
yeah.
If you asked people to list Taylor Swift songs, how low down is Wildest Dreams on the average person's
Yeah,
list?
I suppose.
I don't think it's on a lot of people's list. Whereas Style would be.
Mm.
And all the others obviously would be.
Yeah.
Because I remembered Wildest Dreams, but that was from listening to the album, not because of it being a single.
Yeah.
Whereas Style is the one I forgot. I remember the Blank Space, Shake It Off, and Bad Blood. I don't know why that is. I think it's a good song. I think it is less catchy.
Yeah, it's very mellow.
Yes, I think that is the right way to put it. Whereas the others are all Shake It Off and Bad Blood, particularly Blank Space, also though, are very big.
There's something very understated about Style.
Yes, it's more stylish.
Yeah, I listened to just the background music, like without the singing of 1989 the other week,
Sure.
and it has that like you listen to it and it's just a kind of like it's a repeat of the same kind of like tune,
Yeah,
and it's very chill. Like you can imagine that being on a almost like on a lo-fi thing,
right.
playlist.
Yeah.
In terms of like It Won't Last, it's the concept is about how it's particularly in Style. Like in Style, she's in the relationship, but she's certain that like A, that it won't last, and B, that regardless of whether it won't last, they'll come back. Like that. It's funny because it has such a roundabout, like while the other songs in the It Won't Last are like, I want to make an impact, but it might not last. Style already has the whole circle in it. It could be argued to be part of all four because they love each other fiercely, they suit each other, but she says that that even if they come crashing, they might come crashing down.
Yeah.
Then it says that they'll come back every time because they never go out of style. So it goes through the whole cycle.
Yeah. Yeah, it's almost... I'd almost put it in a different category, but in a... It almost feels like it should be more in loving fiercely, but without the fiercely part. Like, it's almost like loving passively.
Yeah.
Like, you're great and this works, and it doesn't, but it does. And so, I don't know. To me, in style, she doesn't love him as much as in most of the other songs.
Mm.
She's happy enough with him. He's good. He's a perfectly good guy. I don't think she's in love with him.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think of the line about him being with other girls, and it's like, what you heard is true, but I can't stop thinking about you. And then I've been there too a few times. And I suppose that kind of implies that she, on the one hand, she can't stop thinking about him, but on the other hand, they have been in other relationships.
Yeah. She doesn't seem that fussed. I don't know. I just don't believe... Maybe that's why it doesn't click with me. I think it's partly because it's more mellow, and partly because, it's just not as passionate.
Mm.
And I think a lot of this album is very passionate.
Yeah. I'd agree with it. I still love the song, but I think I agree with you.
Yeah.
And then the other song I've put in this category is Wildest Dreams, which I think really does encapsulate the It Won't Last. Wildest Dreams is such a sad song when you think about it. I used to love it so much. It used to be one of my favourites. And when I listen to it now, I'm like, this is quite sad. It definitely does have that, I think that we're going to end tragically, but my number one priority is that you remember me, which is a sad way to look at things. Like, although I've argued for loving fiercely and not viewing things as being like, oh, you end up with one person and then it lasts forever. Like, although I've been in favour of that up until now, like, that is a quite sad perspective from that song's point of view, at least.
Yeah, I think the thing with Wildest Dreams is it almost also romanticises getting hung up on someone.
Yeah.
Which is a weird perspective to take, because it's not fun getting hung up on someone.
It's one of those things that gets romanticized in songs a lot, but in reality you're like, this is a bummer.
Oh yeah, no, it absolutely sucks. But I don't know, that is a weird thing about Wildest Dreams, because that is my perspective on it, and so I should hate that song, but I don't.
Yeah.
Because as much as it sucks getting hung up on someone, I still know that feeling very well.
Yeah.
And it still then hits that place for me, I think.
And I think that it also, from a different point of view, you could see it as that she wants him to remember the good things about her. She wants him to remember, like, their good times, and she wants him to remember her in a certain way.
Yeah.
Like, she doesn't want him to remember, like, when they end, she wants him to see the goodness in their relationship, I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that as well.
Which I understand. I used to try very hard whenever things didn't work out with someone to remember the good things. It did mean that you got hung up on them a lot longer because you were purposely focusing on the good things.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, it meant that you remembered good things rather than negative things.
Yeah.
It's a strategy.
Yeah. Yeah, I think for me, like, my experience of the song is very much shaped by the fact that I've spent far more time hung up on people than in relationships with them, irrespective of if a relationship even happens. Like, I've just spent a lot of time hung up on people, and so that's how I hear that song. But yeah. So the next category is the one that you didn't send to me in preparation. So, okay, why don't you give me category heading and songs in this category?
So the next category I've put, or the next stage of the relationship, is the actual breakup. So we've had the we're in a relationship but it won't last, and then at this point then you have the actual breakup songs. So in that I'd put All You Had to Do Was Stay, Bad Blood, Clean, and Out of the Woods.
Shake It Off.
Oh yeah, and Shake It Off. So Bad Blood, you reprimanded me a bit for not including it. Because
I mean, it was not so much. I think just because it was a big single.
Yeah, I suppose it was. It was a very big single, actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen the music video with all of the famous people?
Nah, I don't watch music videos anymore. I'll be honest, and I don't listen to stuff on YouTube. So
you should watch the music video. It's got all of these like famous people in it. It's got Hayley Williams in it randomly.
Right. It's very of the time.
Yeah. So Bad Blood, I said, I think that it could easily fit on Reputation. It's a bit of a diss track, so I don't know if you know any of the background behind it.
No. I might once you explain it.
So supposedly, and this is like, obviously no one's confirmed this, but supposedly, around the time, Taylor Swift and Katy Perry were kind of friendly, but Katy Perry had been like a bit funny with her and had like pulled the rug from under her for a couple of times, and the final straw seemed to be that Katy Perry attempted, again this is all allegedly, that Katy Perry had attempted to take a significant number of Taylor Swift's background dancers just before her tour was about to start, and attempted to like say, oh, I'll pay you more to come on my tour rather than her tour.
Right.
And the whole thing, the accumulation of the whole thing meant that the relationship went to pots. And then the idea was that, well, people speculated that Bad Blood was about Katy Perry, and that the music video in which Taylor Swift gets a whole bunch of famous women to take part in it was a kind of diss of, these are my friends, suck it. Right. And I thought I'd bring it up just because, like, if you were kind of into the gossip at the time, like, I felt like if I hadn't have brought it up, it would have been like, oh, well, you know, it was about Katy Perry. We don't know it was about Katy Perry. I tend to read the song more as a breakup in a relationship than I do as a friendship, but yeah, you can read it either way, I suppose.
Yeah, I think this comes into the death of the author argument. Yeah. Or like a way of viewing things, which doesn't really get talked about in music so much as it gets talked about in books and in films and stuff. But it's very of the time as well. Well, I think for music, it's a lot easier to separate the art from the artist a lot of the time. Except
for, and this is why I think it could have easily belonged in Reputation, because her next album, as somebody who knew the background of it before listening to the album, I don't know, I'd be interested, I'd actually be interested for you to listen to it and see, because to me, it's almost impossible to separate what was going on at the time from the album.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's just because I don't know the background that I feel that way. I think a lot of the time with music, I'm not into following celebrity gossip and stuff like that.
Yeah, so exactly.
When it comes to music, I don't see the background of the artist or anything like that.
To be honest with you, I attempt to just forget about it because I don't particularly like thinking oh, this is about such and such and this is about such and such. I'd rather just enjoy the song.
Yeah. So that's the disclaimer of Bad Blood out of the way. So the other obviously big one in this category is Shake It Off, which is arguably the biggest single on the album. Arguably her biggest single.
Yeah. I could see that.
So thoughts on Shake It Off? You mentioned Shake It Off slightly, or briefly rather, earlier when talking about, obviously, when you first found the album.
Yeah, I think that, as we discussed with Wildest Dreams about wallowing a bit, but Shake It Off did a really good job for me when I'd finally decided that a relationship was over, I hadn't had a breakup, but I was like, that's been on the table for a while, and I'm just gonna take that off the table.
Yeah.
And it did a really good job of twisting a breakup more as a fun thing.
Right.
I'm gonna tentatively say, or a different way of looking at it,
Yeah.
Rather than wallowing in what people say or what's happening, just shaking it off, essentially.
Yeah, and I think that while we've said about songs like Blank Space and Wonderland and New Romantics, they all mention this thing of, if we break up, we break up. It doesn't really matter. That's not the focus of their songs. The focus of those songs is still the relationship, being in the relationship. It's just, if it happens, it happens. Whereas this is a song which is really about, who cares? In a way. It's over. Oh, well, we'll move on. And I think you could argue that without it, the album as a whole doesn't have that message quite so strongly.
Yeah. And I mean, it's funny because, and also her persona completely changed with that song, because before that you had We're Never Getting Back Together. And
I forgot about that song.
Yeah, and I Knew You Were Trouble. Those were the two major hits before Shake It Off came. And I think that, and I tried to put myself back into the headspace there. And from memory, her persona at that time was very much more serious person, more serious girl in love,
Right.
and experiencing troubled relationships and whatever.
Yeah.
And with Shake It Off came a lot more of her fun persona. These days, she's seen as very goofy and fun-loving, and she loves her cats and things like that. And I think that persona started with Shake It Off.
Right.
It's just a fun song, isn't it? I hear it a lot in shops and stuff, and it gets in your head. Like you were saying with songs being earworms. That song is definitely an earworm for me. Once it's in my head, I'll just have it in my head for the rest of the day.
Yeah. I don't get it with that for some reason. I know that's true for a lot of people, but I don't get it with that. I get it more with Out of the Woods and Wonderland, arguably. Welcome to New York is a little bit as well. But...
Oh yeah, Welcome to New York. I swear sometimes I'll just I'll be tapping and I'll just be going and I'll be like, what is that? And Welcome to New York.
Looking at the songs again as well, I'd argue that All You Had to Do Was Stay was another one that can get stuck in my head. The chorus of that.
Yeah. Which is definitely in the We're Breaking Up category.
Yes. Yeah, that one is firmly.
Yes. That one's a good song for when you're going through a breakup. It's sad, but it's got a beat to it.
I think that song, for me, the chorus, when I'm playing the chorus in my head now, is one of the better written songs, or the better written choruses on the album, for me. Because, okay, so you look at some of the other songs, Out of the Woods is just, the chorus is very catchy, but it's just, 2 lines repeated. Shake It Off, as much as it's catchy, Heartbreaker's gonna break and the faker's gonna fake. It's not, tremendously poetic or anything.
Yeah.
Whereas I think All You Had to Do Was Stay works better with, rhythm.
Yeah. All you had to do was... And I love I love in that song the, little pause in the All You Had to Do Was stay. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know why. Like, you know when like a line really like pleases your ear? Like,
Yeah.
there's something about that little gap that I just really love every time I listen to it.
Yeah, that's what I think I mean more about the chorus of that song, because I just keep playing in my head like, had me in the palm of your hand, man. Why'd you have to go and lock me out when I let you in? That just rings very nicely to me.
Yeah, I'd agree. Are we ready to move on to our final category?
I think so.
Or the final stage of the relationship?
Well, looping it back round.
Yes, looping it back round. The final stage of the relationship is the reuniting, which a lot of these songs could be argued for, but I'd argue in it is Out of the Woods, I Wish You Would, How You Get the Girl, This Love. Oh, I forgot I Know Places in a different category, but oh well. And yes, I think that's all I'm going to include, unless you want to make arguments for any other ones.
You put Style in there as well.
Oh, yeah.
When you sent it to me.
Yeah.
With I Know Places, I wouldn't mind talking about that briefly, because that almost falls in between. If you're putting it as like a cycle of a relationship, it almost falls in between breaking up. Well, it's almost like reluctance to break up, isn't it?
Yeah. I could almost like draw a circle and put these songs like at different points of the circle. I think I might do that and like see how it looks.
Why not?
Why not?
We'll put it on the Patreon.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I Know Places. Again, I find the opening bit, I get that stuck in my head a lot. You said it was one of your favourites.
I think it's one that I definitely enjoy when it comes up.
Mm.
And it's one where the chorus, I don't know, it's just one that I think you could almost put, sorry to break your pattern a little bit, but I would almost put I Know Places, Wonderland, and Out of the Woods in a category.
Okay.
As like darker songs.
Mm.
Yeah, I don't know how to describe more than that. Darker, kind of.
I'd put
like
them,
dark Disney.
Yeah, I'd put them in between. Now you've pointed it out, I put them between the It Won't Last and the Breaking Up. I put it in like the breakup songs are very much we have broken up, while those songs feel very much like we are like on the cusp of it.
Yeah, but we're not giving up yet.
Yeah. I Know Places is external forces are messing with us, but we're really trying to cling to this. Out of the Woods is, I feel as though our relationship has been destroyed, but I'm hoping that we kind of get out of this stage.
Yeah.
And what was and then Wonderland is, like you say, very much we're trying to cling to this, but it's actually not going so well.
Yeah, well, Wonderland is interesting as well because it is retrospective.
Yeah.
Like, Out of the Woods and I Know Places are them trying to cling to it in the moment. And then Wonderland is looking back on when they were trying to cling to it, kind of thing. Mm. That, like, we found Wonderland and we got lost in it and pretended it could last forever because we knew it wasn't going to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, no. Yeah, so I think those are my favourite group, if you like. Yeah.
I wonder what my favourite group is. I say I wonder as though someone's deciding for me. Like... Yeah, I don't know what my favourite...
Maybe think on that.
I will think on it.
We'll put this as a little mini section. So that's our mini 5th group. And then we'll fall back together and we'll come back to what you think your favourite group is at the end.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll fall back together. Has a very Ross and Rachel vibe, doesn't it? It has a...
Yeah, less problematic. There.
Yes. Bloody hell. I'm rewatching Friends,
Right.
and like where I'm watching the he's just got married to Emily, and Chandler and Monica have gotten together, and like their relationship is just so much stronger than Ross's and Rachel's. Like,
yeah.
Ross sucks. Ross sucks.
They all have their flaws.
Yeah, and Ross's is that he sucks.
I think Ross just encapsulates. We're not talking about Friends.
No.
No. We're not talking about Friends. The final category.
Oh, actually, no, but I did read somewhere that, like, no, it wasn't reading somewhere. There was a YouTube series in which they analysed each of the Friends characters, and Ross's subheading was "The Man Who Loves Too Much," and this idea that his fatal flaw is that he just loves, like, he gets obsessed, and like once he kind of gets a bit possessive, he just loves the person like too much almost.
Yeah.
And I think that back to 1989, it's a concept of 1989 is almost loving too much, but in a good way that's not like possessive and obsessive. It's just
right.
it's a feeling, like it's the feeling that Ross is feeling, but without the kind of like I'm going to control you as well part of it.
Also be willing to shake it off.
Yes. Be willing to accept that things might go awry, but they'll come back together.
Yes.
But yeah, in terms of falling back together,
yeah.
Did I put This Love on that list?
You did put This Love on that list and on the It Won't Last list.
I really like This Love. It's the only song. So Taylor Swift had a part in writing all of the songs because she does.
Yeah.
But it's the one that's listed as just being her as the writer. Like the rest of them will have like her and someone else or whatever.
Oh, right.
But it's the one that she wrote fully by herself. And I really like the perspective on This Love. This Love is this idea that being in a relationship is like the tide, that you kind of have to let it go and trust that it will come back. Which I think is just overall a really healthy way to look at things. It's not about like clinging to something that's going. It's about accepting that there are going to be ebbs and flows in love and in relationships and people's feelings towards you and how close you two are. And there's something quite comforting about, you know, whether the love is good or bad, it will kind of come back and that you will reunite.
Yeah, and there's almost something with this song that it's more powerful and more meaningful when, as the song says, you let it go free and it comes back to you.
Yeah.
You don't cling to it, you don't force it, and it's also not all like hunky-dory, we're going to ignore all the problems either.
Yeah.
It's like, we'll take it as it is and we'll see how it goes, and it might go wrong, but hopefully it can come back. Yeah.
And I don't know, like, I think that there's something to be said about if you're in a relationship and you feel as though your partner is slipping away and you decide that you're going to cling on to them as tightly as you can, and they stay, you don't know whether, if you hadn't have clung so tightly, whether they would have. But if you kind of like are a bit more flexible about it and a bit more open about it, and you say like, right, well, if they're going to come back, they're going to come back, and if they don't, they don't. Yeah. Then when they do come back, then it's really glorious, you know? Like, it's really... there's something I really love about the line, "This love is glowing in the dark." Like, it's just, yeah, just the idea of, like, you had the strength to let them go, and then on their, like, by their own choice, they came back to you. Like, that is just, like, the healthiest, like, way to perceive it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. When you were talking then, it made me draw a line that I hadn't drawn before, in that you could almost put this love and all you had to do was stay together and say this love is the one where he came back to her and all you had to do was stay is the one where he didn't.
Yeah.
Because she's saying essentially the same thing. That, like, you had me.
Yeah.
And you let it go. I let you let it go, but you let it go.
Yeah.
This love, she let him decide and he came back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I'd never really drawn a parallel between that either. It does play into that thing that we were discussing with style, in terms of it's a bit more of a passive role. It's I will be consistent. Like, regardless of, like, what happens, like, I will love you. But all you had to do is stay, like, he's the one that drives them off the road. Yeah. And, like, in this love, it's like well, if you decide to go. But if you decide to come back, come back. Yeah.
I think that's a good place to end that category.
Yeah.
to round off the album, and now we can go back to loving fiercely. Do it all over again.
Like, what happened was that he didn't come back, and now you have a blank space.
Well, or no, I'm trying to pick one from Loving New Romantics, maybe.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because that's how we end the album, obviously.
Yeah.
With New Romantics, because, like you say, we'll end the podcast with it. It sums it all up. That, like, either he comes back and we try again and we'll go for it again, or he don't come back and we'll go for someone else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think people know enough about New Romantics. It was technically a single.
Oh, really?
It has a video, but the video is the tour of 1989, like, it's clips from the tour.
Right.
And so I think that means it was a single if it had a music video.
I don't know the definition.
But I
don't know that it massively matters anymore, really, does it?
No. But it was the one out of the, like, in the deluxe album, it was, like, the one that, like, was supposed to be the big one.
Right. Yeah, of course. We didn't even preface saying we were doing the deluxe album.
Yeah. So I hope you listen to the deluxe album. If
it's
not...
the one on Spotify, so you know.
And on Apple Music.
Okay.
But if you haven't listened to the deluxe, if you've only listened to the original, then you've got 3 great songs to listen to.
Is it only 3 songs?
Yeah. It's Wonderland.
What are the 3?
Wonderland, You Are in Love, and New Romantics.
So the normal one ends with Clean?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. It's a choice.
So when you would have listened to it in my car, it would have ended on Clean.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. You didn't have the deluxe? Because I swear I'd listened to Wonderland before. I must have listened to it on Spotify then.
I think that... I'm going to look up when the deluxe came out. But I think that...
It says 2014 on Spotify.
Let's see. 1989. I'm sure, like, the Wikipedia page for 1989. There we go. God, they have a lot of information on 1989. It's very difficult to, like, find the specific bit of information. Actually, what I'll do is I'll just say 1989 release date. So, October 2014 was for the original. And then let's see if it has a separate date for deluxe. Oh, it just has the same. Can't find it.
Fair enough.
But my original CD wasn't the deluxe.
Oh, I must have listened to it on Spotify then, because I definitely listened to Wonderland and New Romantics.
I then downloaded the deluxe. So I think then once I added my little Bluetooth onto it, and I started listening from my phone rather than the CD, so you might have heard it in my car, but it would have just been the Bluetooth version rather than the CD version.
Right. So, that's all the categories then. So, time for you to pick your favourite. I picked my favourite. I made my own category and picked that as the favourite. Which one would you say was your favourite?
I think my favourite is the I'm in a relationship and I'm excited about it.
Loving Fierce.
Yes, but like within that. So in that kind of I'm gonna put blank space, style maybe, then This Love, and no, I won't put This Love, I'll put This Love, then New Romantics and New One Love.
Yeah.
Yeah. Got a problem with that?
No. I mean, your favourite category is your favourite category. That's the thing. I think, like I say, I'm not such a big fan of You Are in Love or This Love or Clean. I think people know that I'm not a fan of Clean. So, how does it hold up?
I think pretty well.
Yeah. Yeah, you did kind of touch on that earlier a little bit. With saying you went back to it.
Yeah, I go back to it, I listen to it. There are some points where I'm like, oh, this is clearly like of its time.
Yeah.
But I think that it's her best album. I'm gonna put my foot out and say that.
Yeah.
And I think that even now it's still a great album. And it's an album I hope that, like, I've still got the CD of, and I probably will listen to occasionally in years to come.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I agree with that. And I think, like I kind of touched on before, there's so much variety in the album, and I think it's generally structured fairly well as well, that it takes you through the variety without it being, okay, so this is all the like upbeat songs, then we're going to have downbeat, and then we'll maybe end with an upbeat. We don't really have that. There is more of a mix than that. But it's also not upbeat, downbeat, kind of like that. Kind of a little bit of a tangent, but when Ed Sheeran's Divide came out, I listened to that and was not a fan of the album itself. Like, I liked plenty of the songs on it well enough, but the album I felt was really badly structured, in that it did kind of go upbeat song, downbeat song, upbeat song, downbeat song, which just felt lazy. Yeah. Whereas I feel like this album's put together really well as well, as an album, aside from the individual songs.
Yeah, I did think halfway through this, I was like, oh, what if you restructured the album so it fitted the circle that I'm going to draw?
Right.
But I think it does better as a little bit of this, a little bit of that, like, taking you through.
Yeah.
Without making it obvious of, like, the story.
Yes. And finally, then, we will rate it. Because that's the other thing we do at the end. What rating would you give it?
I mean, a 9?
Yeah?
Yeah? Yeah, I'd give it a 9.
Yeah. I think I'd give it a solid 8.
Nice.
Like, it's not the type of album I listen to. Generally, I listen to more, like, I know, indie. Would be, like, my go-to more. But, yeah, it's an album I'd happily put on and listen to.
Nice.
And, like you say, not skip any of the songs. I'd sit through Clean.
You'd bear you with it. You'd grit your teeth.
Yeah. It would be fine.
I think it came from.
I mean, Wonderland comes after it as well. So I mean,
it's funny because I so rarely listen to CDs at the moment, and I wonder if the reason, like, one of the reasons I'm happy to listen to the whole album is because it was one of the, like, these days it's just so easy to go on Spotify and go meh about that song, so I'm gonna skip it. Well, on a CD, it feels like you listen to the whole album.
Yeah. I always love listening to an album all the way through.
Yeah.
Rather than a playlist or anything like that.
Yeah.
So, that was 1989.
That was 1989.
Yeah. I mean, considering at the beginning we didn't really know how we were going to do talking about an album, and didn't have a great deal of confidence. I think we lost our way at times, but generally we did alright.
Yeah, I mean, obviously this will be edited down, but we've now been talking for nearly 2 hours about this album.
Yeah. No, that's good. I enjoy talking about it.
Me too.
Yes. So next week we're going to be, or next time, you always want to say next week.
You do.
But next episode we'll do my album, one album from me.
You wrote an album?
No, not yet. No, we'll do my pick for an album, which will be Sigh No More by Mumford & Sons. If you want to listen to that in preparation.
No.
Oh, okay. Great. End of the podcast then. We're done, I guess. Yes, and if anyone listening wants to listen to that, that'd be great. Prepare.
Be prepared. Sorry.
What's that from?
Lion
that's
King.
Lion King. Yeah, I don't know Lion King well enough. Anyway, thank you everyone for listening. The music at the beginning and end of the podcast is Cheer Up by Keys of Moon, and the additional effects are from zapsplat.com. Our website is nostalgiasperspective.co.uk, and you can email us at nostalgiasperspective@gmail.com. And if you wanted to leave us a comment on YouTube, that would be great. Let us know how we're doing. Let us know if there's anything we can do better. And yeah, we'll see you next time.
See you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Jay, are you there?
I am here.
Hey, good news. A company that does shoes has asked if we want to collab with them.
What?
It's what happens when you post something vaguely like, I'm doing this, check it out, on Instagram, is you then get comments or DMs saying like, we want to collab with you. Like, but they're dodgy companies.
Oh. Okay, so if anyone out there has a shoe company who genuinely wants to collab, or sponsor, I could do with some new shoes. You?
Yeah, I mean, there's that company that sponsors a lot of podcasts that's like recycled, that like recycle shoes out of water bottles, and they seem cool, and they're too expensive for me to buy. So if you want to collab with us,
we don't know your name, but we'll learn it.
Plus, like, didn't John Green get something like a stupid amount of Snickers?
Snickers, yeah.
Like, yeah.
I don't think we're going to attract Mars. I think aiming a bit high there.
But Mars, if you are listening, I don't like Snickers because I don't like nuts, but I do love Mars bars.